Chairman Ben. Chairman Ben France.
Here.
Vice Chairman James Firstel. Commissioner Sam Ellis. Commissioner Cannon Fletcher. Commissioner Linda Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Bernardo.
Here.
Commissioner Ron Barra. Commissioner Summer Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Shamia Woods. Commissioner Quincy Grant. City Director Cappy Peck.
Here.
City Director Andrea Lewis. City Attorney Beth Carpenter.
Here.
Commissioner Quentin Whiteside.
Present.
Okay, I counted 8 commissioners here. I think that's quorum.
How many are currently serving?
There's 12. Let me check real quick. There's 11.
Okay. That is quorum.
Great. Okay, in your packets, and that was emailed to you on Friday, and I want to thank Hogamy. Are you the one that emails and puts all the reports together? Thank you so much for doing this on a Friday before the commission. I think it helps the commission read over the weekend, and so we do appreciate you doing that. So, but in your packets, you should have the March meeting minutes. I wanted to see if we have a motion to approve those March.
Mr. Chair? Yes, the minutes at the top say April 10th, 2024. That should be the March 13th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Say one more time.
My copy of the minutes at the top say that they're dated April 10th. These are the March 13th, 2024 minutes, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken.
Yeah, well-
That just needs to be corrected.
There's a typo. I'll make them,
Right.
I move for approval of the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
I might note, there's also a correction in the approval of minutes that would have been for the February, not the March.
Okay, can you know what that is? You have say that one more time?
It was another typo. I'll move for approval of the minutes as doubly amended.
I'll second.
Mike, second. Okay, we got the approval of the March meeting minutes. Thank you all. I would say aye if they approve the March meeting. March.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so moves, that's been approved. Do we have any citizen communication here? You have anything to say? No? Okay. Okay, pull this down a little bit. Our next item on the agenda is the director report, staff reports, and any events. In your packet, you should have received the commission reports that were done by our deputy directors. So we'll let it go, send it over to Leland.
Okay, thank you, Ben. I would just like to reiterate, if your video is not on, such as Ben, if you turn it on so the public can see, that would be great. My report will be brief. We're in between a board meeting right now, so we had an agenda meeting last night. We'll have a director's meeting next week. Last night, I presented I didn't actually present, but it was on the agenda, was the Tri Creek Greenway properties for approval. So the Tri Creek Greenway is just a trail project that runs from Brody Creek Park to Boyle Park. It's a larger project. I think I've spoken about it several times. We received a grant for over $3 million. What we have on the agenda currently is for approval for the property. This is something I didn't bring to your attention prior because This is kind of a last minute approval. We had already approved other aspects of the property, but our city attorney had asked us to take something just generally for all the easements that we have to have. There's a lot of construction easements, property, permanent construction easements and temporary construction easements. So anyway, that's one thing. And then the other one that we took to the board was for Resmond Tennis Center. We have a bid for resurfacing several courts there, actually 7 of them. We do this every year. This wasn't originally planned to go to the board. Again, that's why I didn't bring it to your attention either. But our low bid was just over 100 grand. Typically, believe it or not, it's well under 50 grand. And so the prices of everything have just doubled, if not tripled. And so that's in the middle of being approved by the city board. And then we'll move forward with having those resurfaced prior to our professional tournaments this May. So those are 2 things to the board. That was something that new this year that I was going to bring to attention.
Can you talk about, for those who don't know how the process works, when you have an agenda item, then you have the city board, the actual takes the vote, just for those people who aren't aware and the timing of all that?
Yes, so there's actually more to that, and I'll probably stumble through this slightly, but I have to get it to executive administration, city clerk, and all this, the information that I want to present to the board well before the agenda meeting. So there's an agenda meeting on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. The next meeting, which is the following Tuesday, which is at 6 p.m., those agenda items are actually voted on and approved in the board meeting on that following Tuesday. So that just reoccurs. Every Tuesday, there's either an agenda meeting or a board meeting. So I have to present my information prior to getting on the agenda a week before that. So if anybody has any questions on the operations of the board, we can take those now. Anybody have any follow-ups?
A specific question on Tri Creek. Is the vote to receive the funds, or is it for someone to construct the trail?
So we've already received the funds a couple years ago as a grant, and we also set aside some match funds for that. What we're actually doing now is acquiring property. So there's 30 parcels that the trail runs through. This was designed by McClellan Engineering. So in that process, they identify the parcels that need to be acquired or have easements on them. Some property we just get relatively right on top of, and so you need an easement for construction. So that could be a temporary easement. Once the trail is finished and everything's put back together, that land goes back to that landowner, and there's a lot of different ways to handle it. So there were 2 larger parcels that I was going to have to buy and acquire and go through the process. The board's already approved those. But this was, I had not had this many easements before on a project. And so city attorney's office, again, just recommended that I get a kind of a blanket approval by the board for those easements.
Linda, do you have?
I appreciate that. I'm really glad to see discussion of acquisition of land because it is one of the 3, there's actually 5 listed, but it's number 3 on the list that our responsibilities as a group are to, in consultation, recommend to the city manager parkland and facility acquisition. So if we're going to be involved as a group with that responsibility, we really do need to understand what's going on because people can ask us about that. I get stopped. I didn't know much about Tri Creek, but I've learned a little bit more. So I'm glad to
There
see
you
this
go.
discussion.
Yep, that's it. I mean, that's a really brief understanding of Tri Creeks. I've been working on it for almost 3 years. So, but we're hopefully once we get the property, we can put something out to bid and build a section of it. So
What was the vendor for Rebsman?
I have that. I can look it up. Justin, you recall offhand? Canon, it was Pro Track and Tennis Inc.
out of Nebraska.
I believe that's right, yes.
Okay. I would not hire.
Well, at this moment in time, when it,
Just
yeah.
giving you my feedback.
I appreciate that feedback. I would appreciate your help in finding other vendors because we're limited on our vendor selection as well as these bids and the cost. So I appreciate that comment, but a solution for that too would be helpful as well. So.
Yeah, I think going forward as we, as Leland talks about these agenda items that, it's just going to be a timing as far as, they meet every 2 weeks for both the agenda as well as the actual vote on Tuesday night. So I think Leland and I are going to do, and JT as well, we'll make sure we'll have those things that we see coming across the pipeline that we can help discuss for May. But there are going to be, there could be an overlap if something comes up out of the Southern that we only meet once a month. They meet every 2 weeks. So there might be some overlap with that. So, but I appreciate Leland providing us information on those two things.
I actually have, because of that, and I appreciate that clarity, I do have a couple other projects that I think might hit before we meet again. And so we have a bunch of ARPA funds projects. We're doing different community centers. And right now, East Little Rock and Stevens Community Centers, complete design, their packages are ready to go. And those are in the hands of procurement specialists right now, trying to get those out to bid. So if we got them out to bid relatively quickly, which is our goal, there might be, as soon as we get the successful bid, I'll be taking that to the board for approval. I believe we'll be meeting again to be able to discuss that, but just those are other ones, and I can answer any questions on those projects, or staff can as well. There's always little things that pop up, and those are things that these projects that are on the list here from the board are things that did pop up that were out of my control. And then I will say too, you do have the staff reports. So if there's any questions, the staff reports should give you an idea of where we're tracking on other projects. But again, the reason that it goes to the board is because it becomes a project over a value of 50 grand. So there's a lot of things that we think, hey, there's no need to take this to the board. It's not going to get to that, just like the tennis stuff. And then all of a sudden it blew up in value, and we had to get it there to make sure we keep a time frame to get the courts resurfaced. So does anybody have any questions on the staff reports or anything that I've reported on?
How long does it, from the Stevens Center, East Little Rock, how long do y'all give the bidders to bid?
I believe it's, Justin, you can correct me, but I think it's 3 weeks at least minimum.
Okay. So if you guys issue it today, it would be late April. It had to be done and it would be voted on. Then that's the agenda item, like the next week usually. Sorry for I'm just making sure I understand how.
No, you're correct. I mean, it would track some
Yeah.
way to that, yes.
Okay. Hey, Justin, on the Jim Daly Center, how is that coming on? I read about it's continuing the progress, but how is that coming along with the pool? And that's the indoor pool, right? Correct? Okay. Outdoor pool looking good for summer? Cool.
Those are good projects. The other, just to toot Justin's horn a little bit, is we have some great bond projects that are some playground projects. Boyle Park, Pankey Park, and Kiwanis Park are all that were selected through a bond process as projects to be completed, and those will all be completed in the next 2 months roughly. And so those are all projects that went through this process here and have been approved by the board. But as we do more bonding and more projects, I'll bring those to the attention of the commission as well.
All right. Any other questions for Leland or for the staff? Leland?
Yeah, so I have one more area in there, and that's events. And I think we have a lot going on, or I know we do. We just came off the eclipse, which was a huge success for us in terms of not having any major complications. Hundreds of different people at different events. It was oddly kind of a different. We weren't overrun like we thought we might be, but it was interesting to see. We had staff at a lot of our bigger parks, and they all reported that there were 100 or so different visitors sitting and enjoying the eclipse. And I enjoyed several community centers, but I think Brittany can share a little bit probably more on that. She's been all over these things, as well as just highlight some of the big events that we've spoken recently about that are up and coming. We'll go from there.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you guys. So the city procured 11,000 glasses. We got a $6,500 sponsorship from McFarland Eye Care, and we distributed those glasses, all but a couple hundred of them, via watch parties in a box, which you probably saw on social media and shared. We had those staged across 8 of our facilities, so the fitness center, 2 golf courses, all of the community centers, and the MacArthur Museum. So what was fun about that is we unintentionally designed a scavenger hunt. So on Saturday, I was posted up at a street festival, and on Sunday at the zoo. And some of the people that had come said, you know, I've been to Dunbar, I've been to MacArthur, I've been to Rebsamen Golf, and they were out of boxes. So we got people in our facilities, and we've gotten over 400 Facebook likes through that, and hundreds of people subscribed to our newsletter, which I'm really excited about.
How's that going along? The newsletter?
It is. Now we're post-eclipse. It is on my priority for this week.
That's great.
Thank you. So some things that are coming up. I wanted to point out Picnic in the Park is happening at Heineman Park on April 27th. Open to the public from 12 to 3. That's being put on by the Southwest Community Center. Furthermore, our outdoor recreation coordinator, now that the weather is nicer, we've got recurring programs happening in our parks, including Monday night mountain bike rides, Wednesday night road bike rides, and walks in the park at noon once a week. So you can find that information on our website via programs and registration. That's going to take you to ActiveNet, which is where all of our programs live. Furthermore, some of our athletics have kicked off. Adult softball will be starting in a few weeks. Youth soccer, baseball, and t-ball have all begun. Junior hoops and men's basketball are under registration right now, and we have some other programs, but those are the ones that are coming up quickly. We're also doing lifeguard certification training. At our community centers and other facilities, registration is open for the Summer Laureate Program. The MacArthur Park 5K is coming up on May 3rd. So if you haven't registered, that will be a really great event. We've rebranded that and excited to release a new t-shirt and logo. Also on Friday, May 3rd, the Therapeutic Recreation is having its 22nd annual Arts Fest. And we'll be having that at the State Fairgrounds. What's that building called? The Hall of Industry, indeed. So come and check us out there. We'll be there from 11 to 1, I believe. All of this is on our website, littlerock.gov/parks. And if you click on the events calendar, you're going to see all these. The next biggest thing, though, is Impact the Rock, which is the city's volunteer coordinators' response to National Volunteer Week. So every year we do projects, and this year we're doing a project in every ward around beautification. So this year, 5 of those beautification projects are happening in city parks and trails. So we'll be at Benny Craig cleaning up Fush Creek. I will be a team lead there. We'll also be at Union Park, Butler Park, Allsop Park, and Rock Creek Trail. So we're having a kickoff with breakfast on Saturday, April 20th at 8 a.m. And that breakfast is being sponsored by Community Programs. And then a week later, we'll be back at Union Park for the closeout of Volunteer Week, having a lunch. So sign up for that if you haven't already, littlerock.gov/volunteer. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Linda?
You know, I always have a question. Brittany, thanks. And I've seen such an increase in the outreach through social media with parks. So I really, really thank you for that. Are we having problems getting lifeguards? I know I've heard from a number of community pools who have said that's an issue. And then is there an increased level of training this year for city-owned city-owned pools and lifeguards there? Just kind of an update on that.
Yeah, I'll speak to what I know on the marketing side. I know that we're trying to diversify our approach and outreach as it relates to getting lifeguards, because I think a lot of people have the idea that we just want teenagers that are off during the summer, but we're trying to make sure that folks know we want a variety of people, both adults and young adults. And we're hosting several trainings at the Jim Daly Aquatic Center. So those are up and running right now. And just trying to spread that word as much as possible. We've had those flyers out at almost every event, but yes, there is a need, especially whenever kids go back to school in the fall. Young adults.
Sue from Recreation's here as well, Linda, and she can step up and answer some more detailed questions if you need more information.
I guess my concern is I've seen some pools, not Little Rock City pools, that are delaying openings because of lack of lifeguards. And I didn't know the status, if the city of Little Rock was preparing for that, or if you felt like you would be well-staffed by then.
So it is actually a national thing that lifeguarding is going down, but with the initiative that has been taken, it's still going to be that we're going to need some lifeguards, but I think they're going to be good because some of them are signing up and going through the training. The training is actually through Jim Daly, but it's actually held at ULR's swimming pool. So Jim Daly has the trainers just going there and doing it on Saturdays. So hopefully we get more, but still, again, we always need to reach out and try to get more to keep not only for the summer, but throughout the year.
Thank you.
I don't want to share numbers just so I don't get misquoted, but we did also work to raise the pay for hourly for that to help offset that challenge as well.
Hey, Sue, is everything on track for the summer camp at the community centers? So one day they
Yeah.
that's great. And how many people, how many kids total are in the program? Wow. Okay. Thank you. That's great information. Anything else for Brittany or Sue? Sorry. First time. Not really. That's a lie. Anything else for Brittany or Sue on social media, events, marketing, recreation? Well, great reports. It's like you are very busy. It's good to hear. Okay.
If I
Wheeler?
can just take a second, I was just notified maybe there was a link was updated, Mahogany, for the meeting. So she just wanted me to clarify that the link for on users, that there's a new link that was sent out. Maybe there was a small issue there, but anyway, sorry.
No problem. Okay, moving right along. The next item on the agenda is presentations. Do we have any presentations today? I don't think we do.
We don't, and if you recall, if the board will recall, we set that aside so that if there was a presentation request, we can fill one position for a presentation each meeting. So there hasn't been any requests, and so we can move on.
This might be out of order, but I think I would love to hear from the Trails Coordinator at some point this summer. Just hear about what they do. So whether it's May or June, I would love to have them present because we do have a lot of trails and talking about the Tri Creek Trail as well.
Let me just reiterate real quick about so that's interesting that you asked that because the trail coordinator, we had a trail coordinator, the trail coordinator that was current moved on to another.
Okay.
We have filled that position, and that position, currently the new individual, Jamie Frey, is doing well. He can definitely come in and speak, and we'll invite him to come in. But at the same time, he's really green in terms of his
Yeah.
knowledge of trails, but
We'll give him a couple months to settle in. Maybe that's a August, September presentation, but at some point I'd love to hear what Jamie's doing. So, all right, we're gonna move along to unfinished business. We talked a lot about the new agenda format, and just curious what everyone thinks about it so far. Do you guys like it? I want an agenda where it's more open to collaboration instead of just Leland talking or the directors talking. So want to make sure that everyone seems to be okay with this new agenda format. Linda, you have anything to say about that? She likes it. That's all that matters. So. But anyone else, seriously, I want to make sure that everyone's good with it. This is 1 month we meet. So if you have anything to say, please let us know.
Yeah, and so I'll just add that it's going to take several meetings for us to get in this kind of new groove, especially with Leland and the staff getting on board with this. But I'll just tell you what I would really like to see. The most important thing I'd like to see is, Leland, for you guys to really do your best. And I know you're not going to be able to do it every time, but do your best to present us with important items that you are going to take to the board and let us weigh in on it. I think that is key. And I think you will find after we can get that process going, I think you'll find it'll be not only to our benefit, but to your benefit. So, anyway.
One of the things that maybe it may naturally occur, I think you're just talking about it, but having a listing of maybe the interactions with the board, because I know you're not necessarily having to present some to the board every week at their weekly meetings, or is it bi-weekly? I don't know the board of directors for the city, but just that kind of thing, what interactions, feedback, that kind of thing. It might be helpful for us to know because I don't always look at, the minutes or anything from the directors'
Could I
meetings.
say something briefly? So the purpose of the agenda meeting, which we had last night, is to go over each and every item that will be voted on the following Tuesday. So, for instance, if there were any questions from any of my colleagues on the board, we would have asked Leland last night about those, get any sort of clarification, any sort of concerns. That doesn't mean that it would necessarily pass, but just sort of clear the air, anything that was confusing, and then be prepared to vote on the following Tuesday. So that's not just for parks, but any department
Right.
that is asking for monies or beginning projects, whether it's public works or neighborhood housing or parks. And I think that works well. It makes for a shorter voting meeting because everything's been covered beforehand.
And I'm just thinking if there's say there's a random Tuesday between now and our next meeting, if there could be a 1-second update, like, hey, they asked me to come talk about Boyle Park, or, somebody had a question about it, just so that we're maybe engaged on what's going on, and you, Cappy, you all cover that a bit when you give us the liaison feedback, but I'm just trying to think more in general of, I don't see every board meeting. It's not my cup of tea to go, watch.
I'm so disappointed.
I know.
But another thing is, the Friday before the meeting, you can go to the littlerock.gov website and you can see all of the agenda items.
Okay.
And I know that might might be after a Parks meeting, but it's very clear, and that gives us, the people on the board, an opportunity to see what's up, and if we need to, talk to any of our constituents or any of the department heads. So we actually see it for the first time the Friday before the Tuesday meeting.
Okay.
And that's available for everybody to see. Just navigate to city board and then meeting agendas and click on the right date.
This is a random question. When does the budget start happening for Little Rock? When does those talks happen?
We usually start talking about it in August.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on the new agenda format? Appreciate your comments. Next item on the agenda was the subcommittee discussion. So I'm going to read kind of what our bylaws state about subcommittees. It says the commission will have the following permanent committees: Arts Conservancy, Master Plan and Vision, Outreach, Social Media. The commission may, by passage of resolution, create additional permanent or temporary committees. The chair commission shall appoint the chair of any permanent or temporary committee as established by the commission. So, right now we have those three, and we've talked about potentially maybe adding some if of any interest. So I'd like to open up for discussion about the subcommittees, and now that we have Brittany on board, I mean, there might be a place where you can volunteer and help repost or make comments on social media. That's just an example. But are there any other commission committees that you feel like would help us? I don't have so much commissions where we're meeting too much, not getting anything accomplished, but we want to make sure we have commissions that are actually purposeful and will help the parts overall.
Mr. Chair, quick comment. So I just want to let everybody know that obviously we've got a standing committee for social media and outreach. Obviously that has not been around for 70 years or whatever, right? So bylaws have been changed within the recent past, clearly. So I would just suggest that it is within our power, going through the necessary process, to change the bylaws. So if we need to take a committee off, we can also do that if it's what we feel is right. Now, since we have, now we have somebody that's taking care of the social media, maybe that's not a standing committee. Maybe that's something that you would want to do periodically or on a case-by-case basis if, help is needed. But anyway, I just want to make it clear that that can be changed. And it clearly has been changed in the past.
Great comment. So any discussions on, and maybe this may be for next month to put on a vote as far as adding, I think we want to, let's talk about it today. And then I motion to next month to determine what our committees are, whether they're 2 or 3 or 7. But does that sound good with everyone?
Yes, just a note that it does require that amendments be presented in writing for there's a process. A
Okay.
couple of times.
Yes, and I was going to mention that for any amendment of the bylaws, there has to be, the amendment would need to be presented in writing at a regular business meeting and then voted on at the next regular business meeting.
Okay.
So I can
June.
prepare any amendments that need to be prepared to the bylaws to present to the commissioners in writing at a regular business meeting of the committee.
We would need a written item for May
Yes,
and then a vote in June.
yes.
Well, let's have what does everyone feel about, there's no vote or anything about not having a social media. We'll just start there.
Was there, does anybody know, was there a purpose I mean, when they created it was the intention?
I mean, those aren't stated in the bylaws, but I'm assuming with the evolution of social media channels, I think it was just and I don't think we had a Brittany beforehand. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think it was to help just spread awareness about what are our parts.
And I can give a little historical background. We did have an individual, but the individual had many other jobs. And so things are very different now than it was a few years ago. And I know I don't have a vote, but if you ask me, you know, Brittany's doing it. I don't see any reason to have that subcommittee.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same in agreement with Director Peck.
I'd like to hear what Brittany thinks.
Thank you. You know, whenever I started, I met with Ben and Mia, and we had a conversation about leveraging the commission to help with education and outreach. That's not unique to this commission. I came from the Sustainability Commission that had an education and outreach component as well, because I think as seeing it both from the inside and the outside, you know, I've been a commissioner, I've been a city employee, and as an employee, we can get very, we can get our blinders on, and we feel like we know what the most important information is that we want to put out to the community. And we will do that via our channels, our official voices. But I would love the insight of commissioners that aren't living and breathing this day in and day out to provide those insights on, wow, you know, like this update on Rock Creek Trail was the most important thing that came out of this meeting. I think that's what you need to be talking about, because you're hearing different things than what I am. And you know, I just having been through bylaw amendments myself through a handful of other bodies, you know, the time that you might spend changing the bylaws could be spent doing something else. And maybe it's a very little thing and it stays in the amendments that you just, or in the bylaws that you, that committee sends a follow-up email to me a week after the commission meeting and says, these were the 5 points that we feel like were most important from that meeting. We would love to see that in the newsletter. Maybe it's not so much social media, but the community outreach and engagement is really important, because I am just one person and I am wearing a lot of hats. So that is my 2 cents.
Go ahead, Mike.
So Brittany, would you agree though that the commission can provide that kind of feedback without actually having a subcommittee on it?
Okay.
And just to clarify, we can all do whatever, you know, everybody wants to do. I'm indifferent, but me suggesting that was really more towards efficiency of everyone's time. And I don't want to get to the point where we have 7 subcommittees for all this stuff. It's just too much. I think we need to do more at the commission level together than at these individual subcommittee levels. That's all I'm suggesting. And I think we can do what you're asking at this level.
Okay.
I have a few
Right.
comments. Just from my point of view and role, I believe subcommittees could be useful for this commission. I am interested in the fact that I think they could be revolving in terms of, or maybe social media is not as needed as it was, and there's a different way to do it. But I mean, some of the things that I would appreciate support on are reviewing projects or master plan, or giving input on, I mean, we have a master plan for Hyman Park. If there was a commissioner or some subcommittee that somehow was involved in that project, in terms of going to the public and asking for a lot of public input, the commission being involved in that in some manner, or some other way of projects. We have millions of dollars of projects always, and so some involvement in that more than just this kind of feedback here today would be beneficial if there was a way to do that someday. The other one is also programs, always pushing our programs. I'm trying to push our programs, trying to do more of this or that, but to get feedback and advice on programs and understanding what maybe is more important, that, kids don't want to play soccer as much as they used to. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's not a thing. I don't know. Yeah. Well, so that's perfect. See, now we can get some input here. So JT can give us some input on soccer. I was going to ask if there's a way to get more involvement in one-offs in terms of, if there was somebody on the commission that was really interested, say, in golf. We have, 2 different golf courses, 2 totally different aspects of how we manage golf. We've lost a lot of golf. How do we go forward in that? Is there anybody that has an interest in that? Maybe there's not an actual one committee and one commissioner that has that interest, but maybe there's a subcommittee that could provide some interest and make sure that the department's headed in the best direction. The other thing I would say too is sponsorships, funds, raising money. Anybody here is aware of ways to advocate for new funding. That's always a huge thing that the commission could help with. Those are things that just kind of come to the top of my mind. Maybe there's a way to put those into some of the subcommittees. I mean, I think the previous one for Park Conservancy was kind of a little bit of that role of the sponsorships and all that, but maybe that's an opportune time to change. Anyway, those are just some of my comments, and I'd appreciate any feedback. So thank you.
And again, whatever y'all want to do is great. I just don't, it's more of a fundamental and procedural thing for me. Like, to me, standing committees are like finance and things like that are integral to everyday activity. I would prefer to see less standing committees that we don't have to waste time on at every meeting because they are standing committees. Maybe give the chair a little bit more flexibility in, appointing temporary committees for certain projects or whatever, that won't take 2 meetings of a bylaw change to get rid of down the line for future commissioners way after we're gone.
Thanks, JT.
One of the things
Go
you
ahead.
said, Leland, that I liked was about reviewing all of it actually, but reviewing the projects on the programs, feedback, advice, etc. One of the things I would be curious, and I've asked a few different times in different settings, but like the summer program, how interconnected are we with the Little Rock and then Pulaski County special school districts on that? Because there's 1,100 kids and it's filling up in one day. I mean, my pushback to you all is, and it's not negative at all. It'll maybe sound that way. I'm not throwing a grenade, I promise. If it fills up in one day, how are we able, or are we capable of offering it to more people? And I know we're restricted by size at some of these things, but it's obviously a demand. So
You might be able to add more than this, but I'll just real quickly, my understanding is yes, it fills up very quickly. It has a lot to do with the price point that we offer it at, and that's been like that for many, many years. But a lot of it is due on our capacity of our staff and our locations. So we currently are utilizing our locations as much as possible, our community centers, but we also branch out and use school buildings as well. And those evolve a lot. I didn't realize this either, but there's a lot of schools that are closing and new ones, and there's always all this ongoing, and we always try to figure it out every year. And it's a little different, but basically it has a lot to do with capacity of our staff and funding for those staff. And it's just what it is. I mean, if we had more funding, we could have more staff, more part-time staff. We could open up more locations. And likewise, is that somewhat on the right road, Sue, or do you have anything to add to that? Okay. All right, good.
for once, we're going the right way, huh, Sue? All right.
For the first time, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to be meeting with the directors and Ms. Peck as well. I mean, I just look at it that we use the parks, multiple parks every week in my family. If this is something that the community obviously is asking for, I'm not sure how to advocate for it properly to the board of directors, but it seems like this is a solid investment that could be taken. If it's part-time, I'm not saying you guys can do it this year, like at this short notice, but maybe
okay,
finding
so-
a way to grow it and maybe reach out to the Rock School District, some of the others, and figure out how to interconnect some of this.
This is good discussion. This is the kind of things that I look forward to. So my recommendation is we can have our deputy director, Shawanda, come and give a report on our summer programs. Okay. And I know as Sue's been here for many, many years, and correct me again, Sue is just in the operations of this every day, but we used to fill up like that one day, and there was some times over COVID, right, that fell off, and we closed, and we've picked back up, and the other things have changed. I'm just saying there's a kind of a revolvingness of that. So we also at West Central had a 21st century program there. We've moved that out because when the tornado came, we had to close the facility and FEMA was there for roughly 3 months. So the 21st Century relocated. Anyway, because of that, we're actually in the process of doing a new summer camp there. And we're working to do different changes like renaming it and come up with different classes and work to see what we can do to update and change. The summer playground program has been around for over 100 years. And so maybe there's some things we need to change there. I'm utilizing West Central as a new spot to look at how we can make changes. And because of that, if that's successful at West Central, then we'll start to change the whole program collectively. So your input, your advice, your questions, all that would be extremely helpful in that process. And so, now you kind of got that information out of us of the details of what we're trying to accomplish. And then on top of that, you're at, about how do we get more and more? Well, West Central will be more, and we can push those numbers based on some of that information. But once we be in the commission are fully understandable about where we are on things, I think it's an opportunity. The commission writes a letter or does a request or gives a presentation to the board and say, this is where we currently understand where we are. This is what we understand is the need. We would like to see if there's a way that we can advocate to get to more and see what the board has to say. But I think we need to get to the point of truly understanding everything that I just went through first. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, it's 12:50, so let's keep moving. Let's go on to new business, and I'm going to table that new subcommittee chair appointments. I think we're still trying to figure out what we want to do with subcommittees, and I think I want to talk about that in agenda items for next meeting, but we can go ahead and table that or not even discuss it, delete it altogether, because I don't think we're ready to discuss appointments right there.
You want a subcommittee on subcommittees?
Yes, please. Can you lead that? Upcoming commission meeting date conflicts. So May 8th is our next scheduled meeting. It looks like there's a city event honoring a long-term employee. The suggested meeting date is May 15th. Selfishly, I'm going to be on vacation out of town on May 15th. So I would love to, if there's another day that first week of May would be great. Or if we could do it May 8th at a different time. I don't know when the event is for that long-term employee.
I can just comment real quickly. So we're always here to hold the exact date that was established. So I can always have other staff come in and fill in. We put this on the agenda because the city event is actually an event to honor. So if there's a 20-year employee, they get honored at this event. And it's a luncheon event.
Okay.
I have no control over when that's scheduled. So, but we will be just extremely shorthanded. And so Justin is a relatively new staff, and we have a couple others. Justin can definitely come and fill in my position, and we can continue with the May 8th, no problem. Okay, but we wanted just to bring this to the table is to make sure everybody was aware before y'all have a meeting on May 8th, and the only person here is Justin. But anyway, it's y'all's decision, and we'll go forward with what y'all think is best.
Can everyone look at their calendars and see it would May 9th? I mean, can we move it one day? Does it has to be on a Wednesday?
My understanding is the board can vote and move it as they would so choose.
I'd rather be here if I could, and I would rather all the staff be here. So I would like to propose May 9th if this place is available, which I don't know if it is or not, but is that something?
We would have to check on that. We do have other locations too that
Yeah.
we could set up, but we can definitely confirm that.
Okay. Is that something that we could confirm in the next couple of days and
Sure,
the
but
email out? Is that okay to do that?
I would recommend having the board vote on that decision. Though.
Okay.
And the board would need to vote in a business meeting or a specially called meeting for that purpose.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't want a specially called meeting, so if it's available, is everyone comfortable with doing it on May 9th, a Thursday, instead of May 8th?
I move we meet on May the 9th at noon at the appropriate location to be determined.
We have a second?
Second.
Can everyone, if all agrees, can we say aye? Aye. No?
I don't get to vote, but I won't be here. Can't come on the 9th.
I'm opposed just because I'm not going to be available May 9th.
Okay. Well, how about we vote, we keep it on, if everyone be here, I think if JT can lead it, we can do it on May 15th. Can we have a vote for that?
Was there just a vote for May 9th?
I don't think that's going to happen.
You had a motion on the floor and a second, and then you had discussion and you called for a vote. Is that right?
Yeah, but a couple of people can't make it on May 9th.
We'll have to have the vote anyway. It
Passed.
passed.
Okay. So May 9th it is. Thank you.
Right, Cabby?
It's okay.
Sorry, Cabby.
That's okay.
And then there's the next October 9th meeting. Would like to move to October 16th. I think this is the conference where pretty much the entire staff is out, right, Leland?
I'll just give a little detail on that. So this is a National Park and Rec Conference. Last year it was in Dallas. I took several staff members. This year it's in Atlanta, and planning on attending. I do not know at this time the full layout. It will be less than what we did in Dallas because we were able to drive to Dallas and different reasons. But that being said, it's not as big of an impact in terms of staffing as much as the city event. So you could keep it or we can move it. Again, this is just staff trying to figure out conflicts down the road. And again, it's your call as a board, and you let us know what works best.
If I recall last year, I think we moved this meeting as well. So do we have a vote or
You'd ask for a motion?
a motion on moving the meeting to October 16th?
I'll make a motion to move the October meeting from 9th to the 16th.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's like it passes. It'll be October 16th now. Okay, next item is agenda items for next meeting. There's a lot of discussion about subcommittees, so I'm proposing that each subcommittee gets 5 minutes to talk about their subcommittee, and Linda, would you be okay with talking about it next month? And Brittany, I know you talked a little bit about it already, but maybe can you talk more about social media? You each get 5 minutes, and then Leland, I don't know, what's the Parks Conservative? Who can talk about that? And I'm not sure what
I'd be happy to share more information about the Park Conservancy. I don't know if anybody here on the commission is actually involved in that. So
Yeah, I think that's why we need just a discussion about it, an overview of what it is and how they help, the parts, if not. But I think putting that in new business next month can provide us more information on what to do with these subcommittees. And then if you have any new ones, please propose it by next month as well. No, I think just an overview of if we want to keep it, what would you use it for? You already talked about it already today, but I think for the sake of this meeting, and we have 2 minutes left, that I think we can just talk more about it next month. Oh, yeah. Anything else for agenda items for next meeting?
I would love to have some discussion from Shawanda on the summer program.
okay, I can put her down as a presentation.
And it doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, just to help everyone be up to speed, because we have quite a few new commissioners who weren't here last summer, just so they understand sort of the impact and all that.
Okay, and I know we just have a couple minutes left, and Cappy hasn't had a chance to speak, so if we could give.
Go ahead, Cappy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be brief as I possibly can. So somebody asked about budget. Budget talks start in August, but it really starts well before that. So if there's something like summer programs that people feel strongly that we need to fund those more, we need to expand those. It's really not a matter of just coming to a board meeting and making that request, because it's obviously was not a budgeted item for the year. So the time to do that would be sometime before August. To me, the most important thing on the table right now is the sales tax. Mayor Scott is going after the sales tax increase of a penny. A large portion of this would be for parks. And this is what I think, and I know I'm not a voting member, but I'm encouraging all of you all to focus on this now, because he has met with each of my colleagues on the board to get our input. I know he's met with department directors. Parks maintenance and some other things are on there in a pretty big way, and as it should be and needs to be. But this is what we need to start doing, because I would like to see this commission have some input. It's going to be going back and forth a lot before we go out to the community. I mean, the community wants to know, okay, what parks? We have 63. What are the plans? Again, we don't have anything really concrete right now. We haven't seen anything except a very broad overview that parks will be addressed in this penny sales tax. Do you have anything to add to that, Leland?
Yeah, so everybody probably now is wondering why I haven't said anything. But the reason why I didn't say anything is exactly kind of how you wrap that up at the end, was that we don't have anything concrete yet. I have spoken to the mayor. I am aware of the plans, and I'm involved in that. But I didn't want to present it to the commission until I knew what concrete, really what it was going to be. And realistically, it's never going to be final until we get all the public input. But I'm hopeful. My goal is that I want to be able to present something that I know the mayor and the board and everybody has seen and approved, and I didn't know I have that yet. So when that comes to light, I'll definitely add that to the agenda and bring it as a big presentation to the board. I mean, to the commission here. So,
do you think it's our roles it's broad right now, but if we have any suggestions?
So
Yeah, absolutely.
always.
Go to your board.
that's the problem, is
Yeah.
that's why this thing fails all the time. We've got to do things in the correct order. So there has to be a plan. Leland needs to bring that to us, get our backing, then go to the public and say, hey, your Parks Commission is on board with this. Then you start rallying the troops, and then you get a sales tax passed.
Well, I guess what I was
We can't.
attempting to say.
I know, but we've been working from the back end forwards
Well, you know as much as we know. So this is, the conversations have just started. It's very nebulous. So why I was making that point now, because Leland, you don't have a concrete plan. In an ideal world, if there is some extra money for parks, what would you as individuals like to see? That was the point I was trying to get across. We don't have a plan yet. It's just the beginning. But Leland, I'm sure, would like some input. And I know that my colleagues on the board who are big park supporters, we want to know what's most important to the park staff, to the parks director, and to the parks commission. So it's just the beginning, but I don't want to dally, and this is super important.
So,
November vote, is that when?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so I'd like to kind of top that off as well, is that, so one of my subcommittee's recommendation was projects, funding, all the above. I wouldn't say just because we're going to bring to the table a sales tax conversation, at any moment you have a project idea or any funding idea, I would say is always the opportunity and time to talk about it. The reason that I haven't brought a list is because there's no way I can come and trump Cappy and say, well, this is what we're doing, or the mayor and say, this is what we're doing. And it does go out to the public. And then sure enough, that's not what's on the list because Cappy said, we're not building a pond over there or whatever. I mean, hypothetically, all of that. But so, yes, I hear your frustration. There is a challenge there, but I would just recommend that at any time, we are always talking about, hey, I mean, if you have a project and you say, hey, you know, we should be talking about soccer fields or, you know, whatever, soccer goals or whatever, let's talk about it. I mean, that's what this time is for. Or we have a subcommittee that talks about master plans and projects, and we could meet and we would be able to discuss things as well. So anyway.
Anything else, Director Peck?
Pardon?
Anything else, Director Peck?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was there anything I went to the community meeting at Reservoir when they were trying to float and see if they were going to do it or not, the sales tax. And they, I think, punted at that point, right? But now we're going for it in November. Do we have feedback from like what was presented there versus feedback received? At least maybe we could have that in the interim as I wouldn't say a starting place, but it'd be good to get everybody on the same page. As at that meeting, there was some pretty strong feedback about certain aspects of what was being discussed or brought up, and a lot of rah-rah about some of it. I mean, it wasn't all negative, wasn't all good. It was sort of in between. But I only went to one. I didn't get to go to all the community meetings. So, I mean, it may be good just to sort of at the next meeting, bring everyone up to speed on what was.
I will
Previously just-
share this real briefly. I know we're running out of time, but so those were community meetings. I recommend everybody going to the next community meetings. You don't have to go to the one that's in your ward or whatever. We're trying to maybe also have a large one. Anyway, there's that to be told. Currently on the mayor's website, you can go and find the list of projects the whole list and breakdown of the sales tax that he proposed back in 23. And so there is not just a summary of a list of, well, everybody was against this or that. We do have some comments, but and I could address that a little bit next time. But what the new list will be evolve because of those comments. But I would recommend going and looking at that list and building from there. Brittany, has that changed? So they just took it off, I guess? Yeah, it was there a couple of weeks. I mean, I've used it, so, but maybe, I mean, it's gone now, but I could share that. I mean, that's a list or in terms of projects and stuff like that the mayor has said that he's was doing back then in 23. Anyway.
And I will throw a grenade. I don't understand the process. What I'm hearing is it sounds like a plan comes from the mayor's office, at least to Parks and Rec, not from Parks and Rec up to the mayor's office. Am understanding that right or no, or?
Well, it comes from executive administration with input from all of the 14 different departments,
Okay.
or at least the departments that will be part of
Impacted.
the sales tax.
Yeah.
And it then goes to the board, and then it goes out to the community. I personally feel like it failed the last time because it was rushed. And the comments that I got in the meetings that I went was, we want to see it more fleshed out and not just, well, there's going to be a sports complex here, but very concrete, black and white, so people really know what they're voting on, and perhaps more than just one ward meeting. I mean, a penny is a penny, but this is, taxpayer money. So the comments the board got was, it was just too fast. It was basically a 2 or 3 week period to get it on the ballot to avoid having to wait until November. So I think we all learned from that. It's April. It's a long time until November, but really it's not that long. So step one is the mayor is having listening sessions with the board, talking to the departments to come up with a plan, and then go forward for public meetings for input. Is that a fair analysis?
Yes, I mean, the hesitancy, or not even hesitancy, but this is the mayor and the board's list of projects that they're going to present to the public. So I don't even have the list.
Oh, nobody has to, yeah.
So I mean, there's no way that I can present it. So, but if there's more questions, I can talk to you offline in terms of detail of how that comes together.
Okay. My only kind of comment before I adjourn is just, we want to make sure that the board as a whole, we do what we feel like is the most important thing going forward. And so whether that's the sales tax or whether, we talked a lot about subcommittees, I want to make sure that we're not complicating things because we're doing way too much. And I want to do little things that have great impact as far as doing a lot of different things, but we just got to figure out kind of what's those most important things that we want to set as goals for this year. It's already April. So just think about for next month, what do you want to help out with, whether that's a committee or not, or whether that's or whether that's a sales tax. But I feel like we need to, as a whole, have a couple items that feel like we really want to accomplish this year. So, but I'll leave it at that. I'll adjourn.